on Newstalk 1340 WSOY.
That would be us, Byers and Company. Joining us on the phone line today is Bill Wilson, the president of Americans for Limited Government. We wanted to talk to him about his op-ed piece, A Megaload of Unintended Consequences. Mr. Wilson, thank you for being here.
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, tell us, if you would, to start out, about your organization, Americans for Limited Government.
Sure. ALG was formed in 2001, and we're dedicated toward exposing and fighting overreaches of government on the state and federal levels, and to work with citizens in their communities to return true representative government back to America.
All right, and your op-ed piece is talking specifically about the Stop Online Piracy Act and the Protect Intellectual Property Act, and then the Obama administration's reaction even after these were stopped because of all of the massive support from people around the world. Are we talking First Amendment? Are we talking property rights? What is the argument here?
Well, on the Stop Piracy Act, you really had competing rights challenging each other. You had intellectual property rights, which legitimately the people that have those rights, radio, software, pharmaceuticals, television, they have a right to protect those. But the commensurate right of people to speak and not to have the government censor their material, that in our view was far outweighed any of the property rights claims, especially when we see that the federal government already possesses the tools to protect those property rights. So our opposition to to SOPA and to some of the other legislation was based on the fact that we didn't think it was appropriate to hand the government the power to censor the Internet for the ostensible reason that they already had the ability to solve the problem that was supposedly motivating it.
All right, is the Internet really? I mean, the horse is out of the barn on this one, but you know that the federal government would love to be able to gain control over this and eventually tax it and do whatever they can. I mean, isn't that the argument at the end of the day? Is that they cannot stand this idea of free exchange and people having this much freedom, even in America?
Well, I think that's a very accurate statement. I mean, I think the very free nature of the Internet angers government, whether it's in Washington or in Springfield or in any other state capital. I think politicians hate the idea that people can have a free exchange of ideas and a free exchange of commerce without them being able to dictate the terms of it.
All right, let's talk about Mega Upload in particular. You know, we can argue, I guess, the merit of the case of prosecuting them, but what about their subscribers? What about the people who had paid for this?
Exactly, and that's our concern. I mean, if in fact Mega Uploads, which was a huge server company and trading where you could trade information online, if in fact they were facilitating piracy, then fine, prosecute them. But in the process of doing that, you had hundreds of thousands of users of that, people who were customers of that company that had nothing to do with piracy at all, whose files, who the information they had put on the cloud through Mega Uploads was simply taken by the federal government and, as of today, was going to be destroyed. Didn't matter what you had done. They were simply going to destroy it. Now, there are moves in court to at least delay that and to force the Justice Department to allow many of these users that simply had company files on there, or in some cases family genealogical records. I mean, all sorts of things. And the government simply came in, took it, and said, well, we're going to destroy it.
Yeah, you use the analogy in your op-ed piece, which is what grabbed my attention, that if a bank were accused of sort of some kind of illicit behavior and the Fed just came in and took the depositors' money and destroyed it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what this Justice Department was purporting to do. I believe that the courts are going to find that this is way out of line and stop them, but it kind of shows the only word for it's absolute arrogance of the Justice Department under Eric Holder, that they thought they would just do it, and that they weren't answerable to anybody. And unless you stand up to us and force us not to do it, we're going to do what we want.
Yeah, and the government continues to do this. Homeland Security using these arguments to seize domains, and they've actually gone out and shut things down, only to come back, weeks or months later, and then have to give it back without any explanation, without any compensation for the business loss. We just do whatever we want to do.
That's right. And I mean, government is acting in the most thuggish of ways, and that is, in our view, what has to be pushed back. I mean, if they went in to your radio station on some competitor's whispered complaint without you being able to confront your accuser or even knowing what your crime was, and they shut you down, and they simply took you off the air, and then 2-3 months later, with no explanation, they just said, go ahead, you can broadcast again. Well, people would be outraged. That would be a gross violation of free speech and property rights. But that's exactly what they're doing on the Internet. And because it's on the Internet, people don't see it. And so the outrage isn't there, but it's just as brutish, just as thuggish as if they did the example I gave with your station.
All right. Now, are we to be encouraged at all, Mr. Wilson, from Americans with limited government, about the millions of Internet users that stood up in opposition? I mean, there seemed to be quite the wildfire out there. And not that I would ever sort of endorse illegal actions, but I got to tell you, I was on vacation at the time checking in on my iPad and got a kick out of the fact that these hackers were shutting down government websites left and right.
Yeah, that's horrible. But no, I think it's incredibly encouraging. I mean, look, here was an issue in this most highly partisan, divided time in American history where the polarization is so thick you can cut it with a knife. And yet, this move joined people on the left, on the right, and all across the spectrum. Millions of people, everybody from our group to Daily Kos and anything in between, stood up and said, no, you can't do this. And the politicians blinked big time. I find it incredibly encouraging that this social medium, the Internet, was something that people of all political persuasions and all backgrounds instinctively knew was their avenue to try and regain some control over their government and their lives, and stood up and defended it. And I find that to be a pretty uplifting. I mean, it makes me feel great. It's the best news I've had in a couple of years.
All right. Bill Wilson, President of Americans for Limited Government. We thank you for spending a few minutes with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. There you go. I was in Hawaii, and I'm reading about